Alright, what's going on everyone? Hopefully you guys are all having a wonderful day. Today we are here with another video on various money-making methods for low-level accounts or new member accounts, really. These will have some level requirements, there will be some cash requirements in certain instances, and then in others you won't need anything at all. I tried to mix this up as much as I can to give you guys a bunch of different methods for trying to build your account, even if you're on a new account that just got membership. This should pretty much be able to cover any kind of need you have. There are some that are skilling involved too, so hopefully you guys find them useful. As far as my account currently, I have 725 total level, and my combat level is 54, and I have a little over a 10 mil bank. So obviously I've been doing a decent bit of money making, and today I'm going to share with you guys the methods that I have found best for me to start building this account. Let's get into them. So the first method that I will be going over today will be buying death runes from the Zamorak mage in the wilderness. As far as the requirements for this method, you are going to need some spare cash to be able to buy the death runes. The more you have, the longer you can stay out here, and the less running back and forth you have to do to the GE. So obviously the more money you have, the better. In regards to quests, you are going to have to complete the Rune Mysteries quest and the Enter the Abyss mini quest, which then finally unlocks the ability to buy runes from the shop. So you have to have both of those done. Once you have those done, basically take whatever cash stack you're willing to go into the wilderness with. Keep that in mind, you will have to go into the wilderness, and then bring some food. I bring a shark and a karambwan because they are combo foods and I can eat them both in the same tick, and they'll heal like 35 HP, so that's really good considering I'm only 44. Now for getting out here, you're going to want to go northwest of the Grand Exchange, right up here, and then the Zamorak mage will just be right out here in level 4 wilderness. So once you found him, there will be a lot of essence runners here, rune crafters as well. Keep an eye out for anyone that is close to your combat level. This guy very close to mine, so stay safe out here. The skeletons are a little annoying, but all you have to do is run past this wilderness sign, and then they'll usually unaggro, and then you just run back in. And right here, see the value of a death rune, 195 coins, but if we examine it, the value is actually 287. So we're going to go and buy down to 250 in every world, and that is really just the method. You hop around and you do this continuously. And it really is just as simple as that. Now what I do recommend is when you do this method, if you come out here, check a few different worlds. Typically what I do is I just go up and down the list of worlds. If you're finding that 3 or 4 worlds in a row don't have any death runes in there, that means someone else is doing the same thing that you are and just going up the world. So you're just going to want to hop to an entirely random world. And if you hop to 3 or 4 worlds and they're all sold out, just come back another time. It's not worth your time to scrap for runes. What I'd recommend is coming out here, checking if it's open, and if it's open, just absolutely go ham, because with this method, you can make 1 to 2 mil an hour, definitely closer to 2 mil an hour if the worlds aren't taken at the time. And then even if there's a couple people running out there, you can still make upwards of a mil. So it is a very good method. Obviously, there's a little risk in taking that amount of GP out in the wilderness, but when I was out there, I never really found problems, and if you're a decent level, you shouldn't be getting one hit out here. So ultimately, I think a very, very good money-making method for a lot of low levels. So next up, we have lava dragons. Lava dragons are something that isn't going to net you too much profit. In total, I'd say close to 100 to 300k per hour, but you will be getting up a lot of low-level magic, which I'd highly recommend doing out here because you can gain prayer as well if you decide to bury the bones. And in addition to that, you just kind of need a way to get up low-level magic, and this is absolutely great for it. So the requirements you must have are only Fire Strike, which is a level 13 mage spell, and 500 to 1,000 spells of whatever you're doing. So really, it's not that much of an investment, and it's a decent method. So for lava dragons, basically the gear that I will be bringing will be just some blue robes that are decent for magic, a staff of fire, a glory that will allow me to teleport out at level 30 wilderness instead of 20, an anti-dragon shield, and then for the gear, basically I have some extra food, a 1-dose stamina potion, a burning amulet to teleport out into the wildy, and 500 casts of your favorite magic spell, whatever you want to choose. Typically I come here with lower fire spells. Here I'll be using Fire Strike, and you can come here with really whatever you want. Typically the amount of money that you will make back from the lava dragon should cover your costs, and in the cases of using lower spells at lower levels, they're actually so cheap that you make profit. So that's why I'm bringing Fire Strike. Now as far as how you get out there, basically you're just going to want to teleport to the lava maze. Keep in mind this is in the wilderness, so you're risking everything but your 3 best items. Now that I get out here, basically I'll show you where I will run. I'm going to continue east along this little lava maze right here, and then I will get over to the entrance right here, which is the lava dragon aisle. Enter the gate over here, and we can see that there is some dead loot, which is very intimidating. Obviously, PKers do roam around here. If you are pretty low HP, these things can hit relatively high. So if you're under about 25 HP, I'd recommend staying to the sides and just staying away from them. We're going to safe spot all of these, which means we'll be standing behind an object that gives us room between us and the monster. Here, I will be standing on over here. If you are scared of them hitting you and you won't be able to last, just go to an earlier safe spot over there. You can test it all out. I mean, really, almost anything on the ground, you can hide behind them. So now once you're here, go ahead and auto cast your spell and basically AFK away. I mean, you can kind of hang out. You can pay attention if you want to, but I typically don't since I'm not risking a whole lot. And if someone kills me here, they usually don't even pick up the stuff I have since it's so cheap. They'll obviously pick up more of my lava dragon loot, which is very sad. But yeah, not bad at all. And honestly, as a lower level, when I was about 55, coming here and using Fire Strike, I was averaging 25 to 30k XP per hour, which means this can scale up anywhere to, 60k plus per hour. But at some of the lower stages, it is decent mage XP. It's very AFK and allows you to profit a little bit. So one of my favorites. So our next method is going to be one that I won't promote too much. I don't want you to be doing this for too long, but it really is a good way to get some starting cash, basically. And the method is looting. In World 19, and it kind of switches every now and then, just look for the Bounty World. In addition to that, you could try PvP Worlds as well if you want, where there is fighting everywhere and not just out in the wilderness, so be careful of that. Basically, whenever people get done with fights, sometimes for particular reasons, maybe they teleport after the fight, maybe they couldn't pick up all of someone's loot, they leave some scraps left behind. And so one of the ways you can make money early on is just by going around and picking up everything you see. For instance, these rune knives over here, 553 GP each. I can just pick up one of those. I can pick up a Kebbit bolt that's 800, another 800, another 800. Should probably bring a little bit of food in case anyone actually comes out here and tries to attack you. There is a way so you won't get targets. Targets are basically people that want to fight you, and obviously if you're looting, you're not looking to fight back. So to not get one of those, basically every time you get assigned a target, just skip it, and eventually after enough skips, they just won't assign you anymore. So that is how I'm going to go about it, at least. And we'll see how much money I can make from about 5 to 10 minutes out here. So you can also make some extra side money, maybe 25 to 50k, every time you get a target and they say that they want to sell you a kill. It is a way to make a little bit of side money, and I will see if he wants me to. Overall, my looting bag, I was able to make 40k in as little as 5 minutes, so that's not bad at all. Obviously, if you extrapolate that out over an hour, that's about 480k. I wouldn't say that you can expect that, but I mean, I didn't get anything too notable here. It's just your average stuff that's on the ground. A lot of arrows, a lot of stuff like that. Very good considering I literally don't have to have any requirement for it. It doesn't really hurt me to take a minute off of looting just to see if I can get some money from this guy. Meeting at the furnace after, I mean, it's only taken me a minute or two to be able to sell off this kill, so we'll see how much he gives me. 75k. All right, well, there we go. Thank you, sir. So right there, in what was probably about 7 minutes or so, I made what was 115k. Now, obviously, I guess that isn't what you would expect all the time, but it obviously is very good. Now, the next method is Bracelets of Ether, and this is a method that I really do enjoy and I promote highly. It allows you to train your account at a pretty efficient rate and also make money, which isn't really common at a low level. Ultimately, what you're going to need for this is a starting cash jack of 500k plus. Really, all you need is 50k, but that makes it annoying to do this method, as you will come to see. The more money you have, the easier it is for you to do it, and ultimately the only other stat that you need is 55 magic for high alch. But if you did lava dragons up until this point, really your starting cash and your magic level should easily be covered. So now for ether bracelets, basically there's quite a process to it. These little markers I have on my screen are things that you can make if you use the RuneLite client, or if you're on a PC, there are other sort of plugins that you can download online that allow you to make screen markers. Pretty easy to find all around, basically. They just kind of ease for you to know where stuff is going to be when you do it. Now for the ether bracelet method, basically there are 3 components to it. The first one being the ether bracelet, the second one being the revenant ether, and the final part being the fact that you have to high alch all these. So basically, if we examine the bracelet right now, it only high alchs for 300 GP less than its GE value, which means we're losing money and we're losing a nature rune as well, so we're not making any money. But if I use this one piece of revenant ether, which costs 175 GP on the Bracelet of Ether, its high alch price then goes up to 45k, which is higher than the grand exchange price. All in all, basically every time that you end up using one of these on a bracelet and then high alching it, you are making 1000 GP, and you're also gaining some magic XP. As I said earlier, you need some decent starting cash, and really once you start to get up there in cash, this is even a better method, because the more bracelets you have, the less time you have to go and sell at the GE and then rebuy stuff. Now, in regards to how you go about doing this, since, look at it this way, basically, I can't take out 5 ether and use them on a bracelet. All 5 go in, so really you just need to use 1. So the way I go about that is, I just collect 1, put it in, go back to the bank, collect 1, do that, and just do this constantly until I have a full inventory. Overall, it's really not that bad, and once you start to get used to it, you can do this pretty quick. Might be a little bit harder on mobile, but definitely something that on a PC is very simple. And while that part may not be the most fun, now that you have the bracelets done, all you have to do is just sit here and high alch them, and it's not that click intensive. So for every little bit that you're kind of grinding, you then get a little bit of time off. And overall, if I'm making 1000 GP per cast that I'm doing, which is the current rate, you can expect to make close to 650k per hour using this method, and on top of that, you'll get close to 40k magic XP per hour, which is a very balanced method, and for a low level that needs to get its magic up anyways, would highly recommend this method. And the next method we're going to cover is the unfinished potion method, and this is one that I find to be very, very good depending on when you kind of do it. It relies a lot on margins, so you kind of have to check what the differences of prices are for potions, but that's perfectly fine. We'll talk about how to do that. Ultimately, the 2 things that you're going to need is going to be a starting cash stack. Again, this is very dependent on which herb you're doing, because they could range from 9k in price to as low as like 20 GP, so big range there. And in addition to that, I'd say 50 herb lore is a good point to try to hit. Really, all you need is the corresponding herb lore level for the herb that you want to do, but 50 will unlock you a decent amount of them to the point where you should always have one that's pretty profitable for you. So with unfinished potions, basically, as I was saying before, you really only need the herb lore level necessary to do whatever herb there is here now. So take note of which ones are available and just check out the prices of all of them. You can do that by buying a clean form of whatever herb you want to buy, and then the unfinished version of it. For those of you that are unaware, basically, herb lore has 2 different stages to it. The first one's the unfinished version, and then there is the finished version. The first part does not grant you any XP, as we can see here. So no one really wants to do this. Everyone's kind of like, I want XP, so I'm going to buy the unfinished version instead. That means that you make money by turning these into unfinished potions. So right now, the input cost of it is 8k and 53 GP, and then the output price is a 230 GP profit. 230 GP per one may not seem like a great profit, but look how fast you actually fill these up. It happens every single game tick, and there's 6,000 game ticks in an hour. Now, you can't bank perfectly fast, so there will be some time in between and whatnot, but overall, what I was able to find is that you can expect to make about 4,000 of these per hour, and then all you need to do is times 4,000 by whatever profit you are finding currently. Typically, the highest profits you'll find will be between 350 and 400 GP, meaning that you can net about 1.6 mil. And you should always shop to try to find the best margin, but typically I'd say you should be able to find at least 200 to 250 GP like right now, which means even then you can make 800 to 900k at a minimum. So now on to our 6th method here, and that is going to be flipping. Flipping is not necessarily a money-making method that you can set out in the game to do and do very, very well right off the bat. Flipping is a way of being able to make a little bit of side cash with the money that you currently have available to you. I have an entirely separate guide where I go over a lot of what flipping is about, and if you're interested, I'd highly recommend checking that out, as that's going to give you a much better idea than I can right now. The overall idea of it is basically any item in-game that is traded on the Grand Exchange has a margin between the buy price and sell price of an item. This marginal difference between the two is the profit that you can make if you buy for the lower price and sell for the higher price. Basically, there's no one in the game that's selling for between that margin, so you can use that to your advantage and make money off of it. Ultimately, there's a lot of techniques to flipping, but even with as low as 200k for instance, you can buy a lot of clue items that still have decent margins on them between 10 and 50k because they're just not commonly sold. If you're doing a little bit of skilling on the side, you could be flipping and making 20 to 50k an hour even if you only have 200k. If you're somewhere closer to 2 to 3 mil, you could probably expect to make 200k an hour on the side with just some average flips. So it's definitely a way to go about building your bank more. It may not be the best GP per hour, but considering that you don't need to focus on it and it just buys while you do other stuff, It's kind of worth getting to know, and I'd highly recommend you guys check it out and mess with it a little bit yourselves. So after flipping, we're back with another more regular money-making method, and that is tanning hides. The requirements that you're going to need to do this is between a 500k cash stack to a 1 mil, just so you can kind of have some built-up dragon hides, so you don't have to teleport to the Grand Exchange and sell them all the time. You know, you want to have at least 200 to 300 dragon hides before you start doing this method, I would say. And then in addition to that, if you can get your agility up, you may as well. I mean, agility is a skill you're going to have to get up at some point in the future, because here you're just going to be constantly running, so the higher your agility, the less you're going to use as far as run energy goes. So next, for tanning hides, basically the items needed is very minuscule. What you'll need is some cash. I would recommend stamina potions as well, surely, and then in addition to that, depending on how you want to go about it, you can bring a ring of dueling, or you could bring more energy potions in your bank. Ultimately, you'll be running back and forth from this bank to this shop down here, just constantly, so you can buy regular energy potions, or you can decide to teleport to Clan Wars upon when you run out of energy. So once you're totally out, your staminas won't be able to fill you up enough, so you'll have to come here and go inside this portal, and then once you leave this portal over here, your run energy will be filled. As you can see, I'm entering with 70, and upon exiting, I am perfectly fine. So just teleport then back to the duel arena and go again. You shouldn't need to do this too often, considering you will have stamina potions that will be saving your energy along with replenishing some of it. But the process is somewhat simple. Start off by drinking a stamina, go to your bank, take out your D hides, and what we are going to do is tan them here to the north, as I was talking about earlier. As we can tell, other people are also here doing it. It's something you can do at pretty much any level as long as you have the cash to buy the hides, which is why it is very nice. I'm making about 200 GP per inventory that I do, so if we have 27 of them, times 200, it's going to be 40. It's going to be a little over 5k per run that we do. So obviously decent profit, and if all you have to do is run back and forth to the shop, it's not too hard of a task. And then the final method is one that I also very much enjoy, as it is an account trainer as well, and that is making burning amulets, a teleport that a lot of people use in game to get into the wilderness. So in regard to what you are going to need, I would say a 500k cash stack plus is a very good point to try to reach for. This should cover you for 12 to 15 minutes of being able to do this method, and then you're going to need 45 crafting to be able to make the amulets, as well as 49 magic to be able to enchant them. Not too high of requirements, and honestly this method trains crafting and magic, which is way more valuable than anything we've had thus far in regards to skilling. So for the final method, I come to you from the Edgeville Furnace, where this method will be taking place. Now, there are a few steps to this method, so it's not all that easy. The first step being that you need to make amulets, and for that, you're going to need a bar and an appropriate gem. In this case, that is a silver bar and a topaz gem. Go on over to the furnace, and you can see the amulets here that are U. That stands for unstrung, and that is the next part of the process. For this, you also need an amulet mold to be able to make them into amulets, and you do get 80 XP per one, which is very good, especially at lower levels. Now, it does require 45, but even at that point, it's still really good XP, and I found this quite enjoyable. This is probably the worst part, is stringing them, because you don't get a lot of XP, but it is quite quick. Typically, I do all of the smithing first, then all of the balls of wool. So if I'm doing 1,000, you know, I smith all of the amulets first and then go on over to this. It's definitely better that way. And then finally, the last thing you're going to need is going to be a fire staff and a cosmic rune per amulet that you have. So for here, I have 10. I'm going to do 10, and by charging these, basically you get yourself 60 XP per magic spell, which is really good considering how quick these spells actually go off. And in addition to that, you're completing the last stage of the amulet process, which is making them into burning amulets, which you can sell on. Currently, the price of a burning amulet is 5,755. Looking online, it's actually a little higher, closer to 5.85, and this is the initial cost for it. So if we subtract 5850, basically you're making 830 GP per one that you do, and overall you're doing about 550 per hour, which is definitely really nice. It's a method that you can make a decent amount of money with, and in addition to that, really train your account in a couple regards in respect to crafting and magic. And so that will cover us for today, folks. Look at this champ right here, my god. What a gem. Probably got done questing, still gonna roast. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Let me know anything you want to see from me in the future. Any questions you have, let me know down below. Sorry for the long video. It is extremely long, but I kind of had to explain a lot of this stuff since it's more meant for a less experienced crowd. With that said, though, hopefully you guys do have a wonderful day, and gotta go study for some finals. By the way, that's why I haven't uploaded that much. I'm sorry. I love you guys. Don't hate me.